Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Township Board study session. Kyle requested this study session to discuss commission appointments and the process. So this is kind of his baby. I'm going to turn it over to Kyle.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go over to the Elmo if that's okay.
What if we say no?
You can say no. Great, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jim, for this time to discuss some of this. I've been on various commissions and committees, mostly through rec. I learned about open space, which is different than a commission, of course, and then now I'm on planning, and I've learned that each commission and committee does things differently, and in some ways it can be good. In some ways it can make things a little bit difficult for the public to understand different things. But the thing that I realized more recently is that there are different statutory, well, I always knew that there were different statutory authorities, but that led to different appointment processes for different commissions. So the reason I wanted to have this study session tonight maybe is to talk through if that's something I don't want to change the statutes around that very specifically, but if we want to try to just standardize some of these policies and procedures around our commissions and committees as best as we can, because before you I have a modified copy of our policies and procedures document. This is 9.0, page 41. I sent you all an email of the actual thing, but you can see my suggested changes in orange on this. Not all of them are related to what I was discussing tonight. I just saw a couple things that looked like we could change them around. But the biggest one is towards the end. So if you turn your page around, you'll see, if you read the whole thing, I think our policies and procedures are actually very good when it comes to commissions and committees. I actually didn't know that they were all this way and that we weren't necessarily all following in all the way that we should. But at the end, you'll see that there's specific commissions that are exempt or that are exceptions to some of the procedures around this. And those are the Planning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals. I actually don't know if we have a Construction Board of Appeals.
It's just not very active.
Yeah, it's not active, yeah. And the Downtown Development Authority. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't know all the different legal authorities around them or why they were set up in the way they did. My understanding is some of them are just kind of suggested or imposed that way by the state. Each township has to have some of these things, and the state suggests that this is the way things should be done. So there's nothing wrong that we're doing with any of these, I don't believe. But just as a result of that, we end up appointing and approving members to these commissions and boards differently than we do others. And so what I have suggested here is language, not to change the statutes or the authority around them. I don't really want to get into that, but just to say that with the authority that the township supervisor and the township board has, that we should do our best to still follow the policies and procedures that we have for the other commissions around appointing and doing things like that. So that's basically what I wanted to open up with. At the end, I have like a possible resolution that we could introduce at some point, just recognizing that commissions and committees require a lot of volunteer service, further recognizing that each commission and committee has different legal authorities. Be it therefore resolved that every effort should be made to follow these policies and procedures to as uniform a standard as possible. If an appointment, resignation, or removal is made outside of these policies and procedures, every effort should be made to inform the board or something like that. So none of this is final. I just wanted to kind of get some pen to paper, open the discussion around this. I will tell you, I've talked to several folks about this on different commissions, folks that have been around for some time. Most folks, I'll say, tend to be like, yeah, that's fine with me. But some folks say, hey, it's been this way for a long time. It's not broke. Why fix it? So those are the kind of the two perspectives that I've heard. Obviously, I'm on the side of trying to standardize this as best as we can. I think it makes it more transparent to the public for folks to understand like how these work. Make it easier for folks to want to apply to be a part of these different commissions and committees. But yeah, I just wanted to open it there, and I'm happy to step over there. But I just wanted to come over here and tell you what I had done with my paper over here.
All right, if I may, sure. And you can step back here. Sure. Right now, I mean, there's a lot of flexibility. Each commission has their own way of coming up with someone if it's outside of the ones that are statutorily. I mean, your planning, your zoning, ZBA, has specific from the state how it has to be done. But even there, where, like Planning Commission, where the supervisor appoints, well, the supervisor still brings it to the board. There would be nothing wrong with the Planning Commission having a subcommittee to go through people, do interviews, or whatever their process is, and then making that recommendation to the supervisor, and if he's good with it, okay, that's his recommendation, he brings it to the board. The good part, I will say, is that all of these have to be brought to the board for final approval. So we have that standardization, and if something goes awry at the commission level, we have the ability to take care of that. Now, the one thing in thinking about this, that I would agree with you, is that although I like the flexibility because each commission is different, it's hard to get commission members together for a regular meeting, let alone a special meeting to do interviews or whatever. I still think whatever their process is, it should be reduced to writing and be followed every time they have an opening. From the standpoint of the public, they can come in any day that we're open and put an application in to a commission. They don't have to wait for the commission or committee to have a vacancy. They can put their application in, and it stays there for at least a year. Our policy, I believe, is a year, but I think we actually keep them longer than that. So from the public's point of view, they can get that in anytime they want. When an opening comes up, their application, if it's already in, it's been in for 6 months, they should be in that pool of people who are interviewed or whatever that commission is going to do. So that's, as I say, the one thing I would probably like to see is that each commission actually says, this is our process, and they follow it each time that there's a vacancy.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say I'm open to different ways to do the language and such. I was just trying to be as careful as I could to suggest that we standardize these processes without committing us to doing something that was against our code or laws or whatever it might be. So that's the way that I phrase that.
Yeah, and again, the exceptions that you pointed out are by statute of the state, so we have to follow that. But like I said, we could even say, okay, Planning Commission, go ahead, do your interviews, blah blah blah. Give the recommendation instead of to the board, you give it to the supervisor. Supervisor gives it to the board. Okay. So that would not be a problem.
Yeah, so it does. This suggestion would add a process to these commissions that all other commissions are supposed to follow. But yeah, like you said, they would go to the supervisor instead of.
Yeah, they'd have one. These would have one more step.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kyle, is there a commission that is generally? Because from what I've seen, this is pretty much how it works. But I'm only on 2 commissions, right? So maybe there's other commissions that are behaving differently or going about it differently, or.
Sure. I mean, right now, as far as I know, we're following our policies and procedures as are outlined here. So when I was on rec, there was an open interview process. Then the rec commission would vote on it. It'd go to the board, and they'd vote on it. Now that I'm on planning, the process is the one that's outlined, not in the orange. It's just they go to the supervisor. Supervisor goes to the board, and they're appointed. So what I'm recommending is instead of with the ones that are going straight to the supervisor, they would still go to the supervisor, but instead the supervisor would ask that the process be followed that all the other commissions have to follow.
Your concern is not reactionary, but preparatory then?
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. Yeah.
The one thing that I see is a difference amongst the commissions and committees. Some of them will put a subgroup together to do interviews or whatever and go through them. Other ones will have the whole commission or committee do it. I don't see anything wrong with leaving that flexibility there simply because of how hard it is to get people together. I think that's, and they can read that better than us putting something in stone and saying, no, you got to have the whole commission there, and boom, they never get anybody appointed because they can never get together. So I mean, that flexibility I think should stay, but it should be. There has been times where they've just slipped a name through, and I'm not sure that there has been any interviews by anybody. So probably putting that, that okay, a committee will either do it or have a subgroup. I don't see anything wrong with slipping that in, putting that in our procedures. I certainly go along with that.
Jim, I just have a question if you're...
Yep.
No, if you're done.
No, I'm done.
I don't want to interrupt you. Just for clarification, I have seen on commissions that, they do things maybe a little different on a couple different commissions. But if this is the township's policy on appointments and reappointments, should we change number 1 to give them that flexibility? Because I do know that I've seen in some of the other commissions where they have not used 9.3 number 1. So does number 1 have to be changed to give them the flexibility to do that? Would you feel?
I would agree with that.
Because then
Otherwise, you have to use the board liaison, chairperson, and the township manager, right? That's what you're saying.
well, according to the policy, yeah, but so you guys, I know you worked hard on changing some of the policy and procedures. So this is just one area that was found that maybe they might do it a little differently, which I don't have a problem with the flexibility. And you made a good point where it does take a lot of work to go through the applications, to get people here, separate from their regular meetings. But would this mean that we could change number 1 in however you said that, Jim, which would be, just a change of flexibility? Maybe we can come up with some wording or
Well,
feel.
I think number 1 deals with going through the applications and selecting applicants to interview. What I was talking about was the actual interview process, which, as I say, some commissions have a subcommittee to do it simply because, again, it's just easier and quicker to get it done.
Okay.
And some, I think, have the whole committee or commission do the interview.
Right. That's why number 2, though,
Right,
addresses
right.
that also of conducting the
Right,
interview. So
right.
I just thought
Yeah, no,
it's up to
and I think, there's nothing, I don't see anything wrong with it being a subcommittee of the commission. If we probably put that in there at the time. I'm sure we discussed it and thought that was the easier of. In fact, as I recall, our discussion was if we just had 3 other members of a commission, getting them together versus it might be easier if these are the people. Township manager is in, board liaison's easier to get to than just a regular member, chairperson the same, and I think that's why we did that. But I wouldn't be, it could be anybody on the commission doing this. So whatever.
The only
you wanna
problem
do.
I see with using the entire commission to review it, that would be an open meeting. It would have to be, if you got a quorum of the commission, it becomes a meeting of the commission, as opposed to just a subgroup.
Well, and they that commission should know that when they're,
Well,
if they decide that the whole commission's going to do it.
Yeah, it would just have to be in a meeting.
Right. Or, and they could just make it part of a meeting, their regular meeting. And I think those guys, that's probably how they do it. I don't know. It'd be really tough to get a separate meeting of everybody. Tough from a time constraint. But I mean, I think that flexibility has to be there, or in fact, if you're gonna have it just one way, then you say a subgroup, or nothing's probably gonna get done if you're
Should
trying
we
to get.
add something then, or no? Do you want
At least-
to add it to the actual policy?
Yeah, at least
I
for
mean, later on?
The way I read it is that, it says chairperson or his or her designee.
Right.
I guess we could put designees in there just so they
Right.
could be open to several people.
Right.
But that's where the flexibility is, I think, right there.
I would ask Derek, because this is 7, 8, 9 committees that the township manager would be involved in these things. Is that a burden on you or on your position?
No, I think if I were to make a suggestion, I would even volunteer for those committees or commissions that have a department that they work with or a department manager that they work with. I think it's probably more appropriate for the department manager to have the position of reviewing the applications than the township manager, because that department manager is going to know their business much better than even the township manager is, but also understand what their commission or committee needs as far as a skill set, because they're interfacing with them a lot more than I would. So I guess if I were to suggest a change, it'd be chairperson or her designee and the department manager for for a commission that has a department manager or something along those lines. And then as far as number 2, I wouldn't see an issue with that as far as providing the flexibility to have more than just the liaison or the chairperson to be doing the interviews.
Yeah, and we were looking for 3. I mean, you would hope to have more than 2.
Yeah, because I'll be honest with
3
you,
you want.
it is difficult to get the interviews done sometimes.
And and I don't know that it has to be the board liaison. As long another person from the committee, and the chairperson and the director or manager of the department could be fine. My suggestion would be township manager and or his designee. So if there's a department head, that's going to be your designee. If there isn't one, maybe it is going to be you.
So maybe it could be phrased something like, 3 review of applications will be completed by 3 officials, the board liaison and the chairperson or his or her designee, and the township manager or his or her designee.
And again, we could even take that board liaison out of there and just have chairperson and, or his, we need that third person. We have to have the wording so there's 3 people.
Right.
So the board if it's too much of a burden on the liaison, because some of you guys work, and usually they're done actually during the day.
So it's going to be board liaison, chairperson, township manager, or their designees.
There you go, I like that.
Yeah, there you go.
Something just to show
Yes,
And everybody can have a
Yeah.
designee.
it
Right.
actually in our policy
Right.
then, as opposed to, and I have no problem with I'm sorry. I have no problem with flexibility at all. I mean, that's fine, whatever you guys feel, to get the job done the best way, but I just thought it should be at least written where somebody else that needs to go look and see later on what the correct way is, maybe, a couple years down the line, would have it there. That's all.
So I think the core issue, though, that Kyle brought up is making sure all the commissions are doing this, right? That's
right. That's
okay.
When we see there's a vacancy, that board liaison would be the best one to make sure they're following the procedure.
I would think in number 2, I would want the department manager, assuming there is one, conducting the interview, or on the interview panel.
That would make,
We basically you could use the same language as
echo
number
number
1 for
one.
number 2.
Right.
Exactly, the liaison, chairperson, township manager and or their designees.
Right.
So then the
Right. So
managers.
whoever you put together, that's the group. And then the liaison makes sure that they're following that procedure.
Yeah, I mean, you run into a problem if you only have
Well,
2 people doing coming up with doing the interviews and putting the recommendation.
well, you do if they don't agree. because there's nobody to break the tie.
Well,
Excellent.
No, that's good. We can work on
Okay.
language and come back with an amendment to the policies and procedures.
Okay, yeah, so, all right, I'm happy to do that. And I just moved the top one, it just felt out of place, so I moved it into the applications section, but, open to however we want to do it. But so next step, should I try to bring that back to Derek and come back to the board with it, or what should I do on this?
What we can do is draft language, then we'll bring it back to the board for consideration.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, excellent.
I have a tertiary question. So I don't know if this is in another section of the policies and procedures. I don't have it in front of me, but is there any paragraph on removing commission members?
Apparently, no. I was thinking about that as I was doing this.
Yeah, like a process for that, just so we wouldn't get into any kind of trouble if we had to remove.
I'm sorry,
someone,
I'm
right?
sorry, I was talking to Dave there.
Oh, yeah.
He had asked to step out.
Not in this document,
What was your comment?
So the question, I guess, like I said, it might be in another place in the policy and procedures, but is there a codified process for removing a commission member? So that if you do so, at least you do so in compliance with policies and procedures.
Yeah, I do believe it has in there that all your commission volunteers serve at the pleasure of the board, and the board can remove them if they feel it's necessary.
Okay, so it would be a board action as
Yes.
opposed to a commission
Yeah,
action.
yeah,
Okay.
the commission would not, the commission would recommend to us, hey, we need to take this guy off or whatever. It could just be the board
Okay.
finding whatever and taking him off. But yeah, there is a procedure for that.
Yeah, I didn't see it in our policies and procedures document, though, maybe, so.
Well, I think it's an inferred power of the board then.
Well, it might also be included within the ordinances establishing the various commissions. And I believe that's where it is.
Yeah, maybe that's, it's in 67 rather than in.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought we did have that in there too, even though it was,
Yeah.
I thought it's in both, but if not, I think it should be, rather than saying, go hunt around and try and find it. We can just add it into,
If
Into
anything,
this.
even by reference
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
To refer back to the ordinance.
Yeah, I think that would be good, because as I was going through it, I noticed that too. I was like, we don't have anything about.
there was, okay, yeah,
about
if
we
it,
need to-
yeah, we'll look at that, and if it isn't in there, absolutely, we'll get it in there.
Jim, do you see a problem? I know the police commission has a procedure and a policy about total number of missing meetings. Do you see that a problem being separate, or that it should be kind of contiguous, or the?
Actually, that is a blanket for all commissions.
Okay.
And we have a real tough time having any of the commissions, although some of them do have people that don't show up,
Yeah.
ever bringing it forward to tell us that guy's, missed 60% of the meetings.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, I know a big part of Grozeal is being friendly and liking people and everything, but it doesn't do your commission any good if that commissioner isn't there. He's not helping the commission, he's not helping the community. But it's up to the commission to bring that forward to us to handle that.
Yeah, I think, as I was going through this, I noticed that, I know there's these things that we have, but we don't have them in our policies and procedures, and it might be worth adding, maybe not under appointments, but maybe like 9 point, I don't know, or 10, I don't know.
Yeah,
if we want-
we'll
it'd be
find,
like
we'll find the proper
removal or
place to
something
put
like
it
that.
in and have that part of it.
Okay.
And I know we're close to time here, but I do want to say, I know Kevin Flavin has brought this up before, of having commissions try to get their documents online, so just like the board. I didn't necessarily want to cover that here because I felt like this was a big enough change on its own, but I think, that's something also to be looking at in our policies and procedures if we want to start asking commissions to be ready to be able to put their materials online for everyone to see, just like the board does. I think it'll be easier for commissions that have staff support. Ones that don't, I think it'll be more difficult, so that's another reason why I didn't want to do that right away, but I just think it's something that should be considered moving forward.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Then the study session ends, and we will start our regular meeting in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Township Board's business meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Additions, deletions. Actually, I have been asked to make an addition to the consent agenda. This would be consent agenda number 6 for the approval of Anna Stanko to replace, as a replacement on the DDA authority.
Second.
Thank you. And the reason it's I even agreed to bring it up is she was actually they went through their interview process and everything and approved her over a month ago and forgot to bring it forward to the board. And it was just mentioned to me today, and I would hate to see her wait another month to get on. So I would ask that that we make this addition and get her moving. Other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a motion to add consent agenda number 6 to approve Anna Stanko on the DDA commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that'll be consent agenda number 6. All right. With that, our next is public comment on agenda items.
Where are we at here?
3 minutes.
Approval. of the-
Oh, I'm sorry. We have the approval of the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Do I have a support?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. As you'll notice, there's only 6 of us today. Clerk O'Connor is excused. Now, we have public comment on agenda items. 3 minutes. You know the drill by now, Margaret.
do. It's Margaret Shelton, Bellevue Road, and I'm going to read this for the sake of the time clock. So this is in regard to 2 first responder topics, action items 2 and 3 on the agenda. If you've not seen the most recent death of a young Oakland County Sheriff deputy with 4 children, 1 yet to be born,
Excuse me. Where are you? Where on the agenda are these?
your ammunition and your AEDs. I'm
Okay.
I'm getting to it.
Thank you. You
Yep, no
lost
problem.
me there with your
No.
opening. Go ahead.
It corresponds with it. So, again, it's beyond tragic. So when first responders make reasonable requests for this board for added safety measures such as Kevlar or AEDs or practice ammunition, there should be no hesitation to approve and there should be no dissent. Safety is tantamount for these men and women, and if it's not only for their protection, but also for ours. These equipment requests allow the men and women of our departments to do their jobs with efficiency and effectively. There should be no comparing a request for Kevlar to 1940s Germany. To do so is a gross misunderstanding of the job itself, and at its worst is just blatant disrespect. So while police and fire are different jobs, the underlying outcome is the same, and that is providing safety to all the residents of Grosse Ile. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Flavin, Park Lane. On this evening's agenda, we have the Kroger opioid. We're going to opt into that. What I was wondering, or we're going to vote on opting into that. I was wondering if the board will make a budget amendment and talk about in an open meeting how they're going to spend that money. We have had other situations where we've seen money come in from gifts or, for instance, the house that was donated to the community, and I think it was multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it would be important, and I think helpful towards transparency and openness, to have a something similar to a open discussion about how the money is going to be spent, and have it separate in the budget so that the money can be tracked through time and how it is being used. For instance, again, I don't know that we've seen a full report on how all the COVID money has been spent. I know there have been bits and pieces over time, but it would be nice to see a report with all of the details. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Anyone else? Nobody else is, I can't see there. Okay, thank you. That'll move on to the consent agenda. David?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that the board approve consent agenda 24-029, which consists of the following: minutes of the June 10th, 2024 regular meeting, check registers dated through June 14th, 2024, storage container purchase, the Munetrix 3-year contract, authorize a contract for professional services for categorical exclusion, and to approve the appointment of Anna Stanko to the Downtown Development Authority.
Support. Comments or questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve consent agenda 24-029, which includes the minutes of the June 10th, 2024 regular meeting, check register dated through June 14th, 2024, storage container purchase, Munetrix 3-year contract, authorized contract for professional services, categorical exclusion, and approval of Anna Stanko to the DDA. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our action items. And the first one is a resolution. It's a relatively short resolution, so I am gonna read it. I will only read it once. But the resolution for accepting the national opioid litigation, funds from Kroger settlement, and authorizing acceptance of additional opioid settlements and plans. Whereas Groseal Township has previously opted into and has begun receiving funds from national opioid litigation settlements reached against the 3 largest pharmaceutical distributors, McKesson, Cardinal Health, and Amerisource Bergen, and one manufacturer, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, Inc., and its parent company, Johnson & Johnson, as well as from settlements from national pharmacies, CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens, and against 2 pharmaceutical companies, Teva Pharmaceutical Industries and Abevia Allergen. All these settlements relate to the role of these companies in the manufacture, distribution, sale, and marketing of opioids. And whereas the township was recently notified that it's eligible to receive funds from an additional lawsuit settlement reached with Kroger, which is alleged to participated in the over-distribution of opioids through its pharmacies. In order to receive these settlement funds, the township must opt into the settlement, waive opioid-related claims against Kroger, agree to spend the funds on opioid remediation, and to accept the jurisdiction of the court. And whereas, since it is likely that there may be additional opioid litigation settlements or plans of bankruptcy reorganization for companies involved in activities relating to the opioid crisis, the Board of Trustees desires to authorize the township manager to accept the settlement terms and bankruptcy or reorganization plans and funds as long as the township attorney does not have any legal concern with the settlement or reorganization terms. Now therefore it is resolved that the township opts into the Kroger settlement, accepts the terms of the settlement, including the funds must be spent on opioid remediation, and authorizes the township manager to take all necessary actions to receive the settlement funds. Be it further resolved that the township authorize the township manager to take the necessary action to accept additional opioid settlement funds and opioid-related bankruptcy plans of reorganization, as long as the township attorney reviews the terms and does not have any concerns with the settlement or reorganization, and the funds are used as required by the settlement plan. Questions? Let me start. Derek, do you have anything to add to this?
Just the terms of this agreement, it's, I believe, $124,121.67 paid over a 10-year period of time.
Sorry, we have to second this, Jim.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second.
A lot of seconds. Now we'll listen to you.
Over a 10-year period of time, to answer some questions I think that came up earlier. These funds are accounted for in a separate account and can only be utilized for the conditions that are provided for within that settlement agreement. So just so the residents are aware and for your information, it can be utilized for funding the stocking of drugs which can reverse opioid overdoses, prevention programs such as community drug disposal programs, funding and training for first responders to participate in pre-arrest diversion programs and post-overdose response teams, drug take-back disposal or destruction programs, funding for community anti-drug coalitions that engage in drug prevention efforts, and funding for evidence-based prevention programs, increase the availability of drugs that treat overdoses for first responders, overdose patients, family members, and outreach workers, and education of law enforcement and other first responders regarding precautions in dealing with fentanyl and other drugs, support services for first responders who experience trauma associated with opioid-related emergency events. So it is fairly specific what we can utilize these funds for. Once again, they will be tracked in a separate account and will be attributed as necessary to those eligible expenditures.
Other comments by the board?
We have not received any funds yet, right?
We have a minor amount, relatively speaking. I think
Yeah.
we've received maybe $20,000, I think, so far. Yep.
The opioid litigations have been going on for some time. And long ago, they asked us to opt in.
Yeah, this is the first settlement that the attorneys have requested that the board accept. So there were a couple other settlements that were accepted, but fairly minor amounts. But this is the first one that they had asked you guys to go
And
ahead
they are getting more formal with the first one that I saw, it was like, you can get this money. You guys meet the requirements, you can get this money. opt in.
And the settlement,
What they're now, rather than just opt in, get money, spend it as you'd like, they're becoming very definite as to, which makes sense, what they wanted to spend on.
the settlement figures are based upon population, so a larger community would end up receiving more funds. So our share of the pot more or less is determined based upon our size, but also, how many opt in, because this is a class action lawsuit, so.
If I read it right, this authorizes not just for this settlement, but for future settlements, you would be able to put that in that fund. Yeah.
Right. Anything that comes out of this big litigation, which there were a lot of companies involved, and the ones that we know. As they settle these out, instead of coming back each time, we thought this would be the way to do it. Anything else?
Do a roll call.
Yeah, have to. All right, with that, we have a motion to accept the opting in and Kroger opioid class action settlement. The resolution, as I just read, without any change, and we'll take a roll call vote on this. Kyle?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jameson?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. We'll get, I think it's good that we get these funds, even though there are some limitations on what we can do with them. They can be used for the good of the community, and we should do that. Carl, if you, let's see.
Joe.
Yeah, no, let me see. Purchase of training ammunition, yes, Joe, if you would,
Recommend Township Board approval for the purchase of training ammunition from Michigan Ammo in the amount of $6,100.
Or
The police department purchased a large amount of training ammunition several years ago, which is now depleted. After receiving and reviewing 3 bids, we are requesting the purchase of 10,000 rounds of .45 caliber and 5,000 rounds of .556 from Michigan Ammo for a total of $6,000. Michigan Ammo is a prior vendor of ours and is used by many downriver agencies. This purchase would be funded through federal forfeiture and should sustain the department for several years. And once again, this is through federal forfeiture funds. The only thing I would say is I would not have had a problem because the price of ammo, I was the one that bought the 10,000 rounds of both kinds, and it's been depleted over the years, and the price of ammo just keeps going up. Doug feels this is the right amount for the department. That's great. I would have voted if he doubled it. So,
Yeah, I would agree with you, Joe. I actually crunched the numbers. So that's about 588 rounds per sworn peace officer of .45 caliber, 294 rounds of 5.56 millimeter, and they should be shooting a lot more than that, right? Like I'd like to see them shoot 1,000 rounds a year of each. So I mean, let's support this, but maybe we can go back to them and be like, I don't know what the range programs, right? So, but they can spend more of that for forfeiture money on this, especially at 38 cents a round for 45. That's a damn good deal.
yeah, it is.
it's better than.
Yeah. So I mean, buy 50,000, Doug.
Joe, how long did that other 10,000 rounds last?
I probably bought it in 12, 13.
Wow. Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit later. But
10 years ago.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
it's lasted a long time.
It's
but
lasted a long
I
time.
think I did, and Doug can correct me on this, but I think we purchased a lot because when it was starting to go up, we wanted to beat the pricing for the next 4 or 5 years. That's all. So
Okay.
Joe?
Yeah.
I have a question. The motion says 6,100. The explanation and the bid says 6,000. So is it 6 even or 6,100?
Is the motion a misprint?
well, if I go to I got 6,000 on the bid itself out of the
Yep.
paperwork.
Yep, so our motion
the
should be
paperwork.
6,000.
Good catch, David, there. Yeah, I show 6 on the paperwork. So, I guess it would be the correct thing to do to
6,000.
change that.
Okay.
Unless, let me,
Can you quit?
oh, I'm sorry, Jim, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, can we, well, it's $100 difference.
Yeah.
But if it's the backup material says $6,000.
Yeah, if I get the bid on both of them, if you look at the bid's total, is 36 even and 24 even, which is 6, not
Yeah.
61. So
Okay.
can we change?
I'll just, when I read the
Are we-
motion, I'll change it to 6.
Is that okay?
Yep.
I mean,
That'll work.
thank you, David.
All right, any other comments or questions?
I just want to note that the price of ammunition seems to be going down, Jameson. Your point is well taken. When
Yeah.
Afghanistan was hot, we were paying $1 a bullet,
Yeah.
and that's come down quite a bit.
This is, I mean, 38 cents a round is.
I was
is a heck of
paying,
a
I
deal.
believe, near $1.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe, and it was quite expensive. It was a whole lot more than $6,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. With no other comments, we have a motion that the Township Board approve the purchase of training ammunition from Michigan Ammo in the amount of $6,000. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good. All right. Now it's Carl's turn.
Thank you. I move the Township Board adopt the recommendation of the Groseal Fire Commission of June 13, 2024, to purchase 6 CR2 automatic electronic defibrillators, commonly known as AEDs, with battery kits, battery chargers, and electrodes for $11,370.71, and 2 Stryker Power Pro 2 stretcher lifts with battery kits, battery chargers, power cords, and O2 bottle holders for the amount of $79,775.76.
Support. Give that one to Kyle.
Under the history and purpose and explanation, the current AEDs, LP1000, were manufactured in 2008 and 2010. The LP1000 defibrillators in use at the fire department and its batteries have reached their FDA service life. LPA 1000 defibrillator does not have the ability to analyze heart rhythms while performing CPR compressions. It requires changing the pads when defibrillating a child versus an adult and does not have Wi-Fi connectivity abilities. The CR2 defibrillator, however, can analyze heart rhythm while performing compressions, is capable of defibrillating a child and an adult while using the same pad, and has Wi-Fi sending capabilities. In the end, since there is no need to pause compressions, the CR2 defibrillator allows for higher survivability rates since it provides quicker analyzation and shock times. The 6 CR2 defibrillators will be carried in both ambulances, in the chief's vehicle, in the fire marshal's vehicle, and in 2 police patrol vehicles.
Second?
Regarding the stretchers, the current Pro Power stretcher lifts were manufactured by Stryker in 2008. The fire department purchased the current Pro Power stretcher lifts in 2016 as used refurbished units. The current Power Pro stretcher lifts are 16 years of age. The fire department has been able to extend the operation of these units to 16 years. However, the life expectancy of the current Power Pro stretcher lifts is only 7 years. There is no testing for service operability beyond 7 years, and after 7 years, there is a shift of liability from the manufacturer to the end user, that is the fire department. The current stretcher lifts have increasingly required technical service from Stryker to operate effectively and are obsolete. In a word, the materials that we're using have stretched their life expectancy beyond what would have normally been expected up front, and it is now a liability problem for us at the tail end. So I'm asking that this board unanimously approve the purchase of the equipment.
Questions or comments by the board? Seeing none. We have a motion to adopt the recommendation of the Groseal Fire Commission of 6/13/24 to purchase 6 CR2 automatic electronic defibrillators, AEDs with battery kits, battery chargers, and electrodes for $11,370.71, and 2 Stryker Power Pro 2 stretcher lifts with battery kits, battery chargers, power cords, and O2 bottle holders for the amount of $79,775.76. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? John, you have your stretchers and your defibrillators.
John Camilleri, Chief of the Groseal Fire Department. I want to thank the board for its continued support. I appreciate this last purchase. I've been on the podium numerous times purchasing and improving the quality of the fire department. I thank you again. The CR2 defibrillators are an extreme improvement. When you don't have to pause to analyze, you have more blood perfusion, increases quality CPR, survivability. When you stop perfusion, you lose heart muscle. It's very important. I thank the board for its continued support. It's a very easy unit to operate. There's about 13 defibrillators around Groseal, churches, Township Hall. They all are CR2 units. This brings every unit together as one common unit. Fire department monitors all the CR2 units around the island. We know the extent of your battery life. We communicate with the churches, the clubs. So this brings it all together, one unit. And muscle memory is important when you have lay people operating defibrillators. CR2 unit walks you and talks you through the very simple operation. You're not skilled, operators, but that CR2 unit has a proctor, I'll call it, and it walks you right through. And very important, as you mentioned in my narrative, thank you, Carl, for reading that very long narrative. Same pads between adult and child. With our LifePak 1000s, you have to, realize an adult has a different electrode than a child, and you have to have your wits about you to make sure you're using the right pads. With the CR2, same pads. So it's very easy to use. Thank you, board. Appreciate all your support, as does your firefighters, EMTs. Have a great night.
Thank you,
Thank you,
John.
John.
All right, and that brings us to action item number 4. David?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion based upon a recommendation from the Groseal Township Department of Public Services Commission that the Groseal Township Board hereby approves the extension of a contract with Al's Asphalt for crack and joint sealing within the Township of Groseal at a contract cost not to exceed $75,000.
Thank you.
For fiscal year 24-25, the road maintenance account has a current balance of about $85,000 in non-committed funds. Approximately $7,000 of that will be spent on addressing shoulder work on West River Road, leaving approximately $75,000 for other projects. The administration, DPS, would like to utilize these funds to perform crack and joint sealing, and priority be given to those areas where we are seeing reflective cracking on some of the roads that received a 2-inch mill and fill over the past 18 months. And these roads include Horsemill Canal, a section of Church Road between Bridge and Meridian, and other roads that we want to address include Hickory Circle, Stout, and Island.
Any questions? Comments? Seeing none, we have a motion based on the recommendation from the Groseal Township Department of Public Service Commission that the Township Board hereby approves the extension of a contract with Al's Asphalt for crack and joint sealing within the Township of Groseal at the contract cost not to exceed $75,000. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We get a little more road work done this year. Very good. It's good to see that road program is moving along as well as it is. I think actually the biggest benefit is you drive and don't think about it, but you don't remember what it was like before when we had many more busted up roads. So that's good news. All right, that's the end of our action items. We now move to public comment on anything. 3 minutes, name and address. Kathy. God, we got to do something about that podium. Or I got to get taller. I got to get taller.
Kathy
ahead.
Walker, 26051 Thorpe Court. Hello, gentlemen. The reason I'm here tonight, not that I didn't want to hear everything you had to say, but there was a little comment on Twitter or Groseal Now about kayaking. So I got my We Kayak shirt on and started thinking I'll talk to you guys. And I know a lot of you have been involved. Carl, you have been involved. I know, Jim, you've been involved. Uta was involved in a lot of things. My suggestion to the DDA or REC or whoever does it, all you have to do, and I've got pictures to show you, is get that green carpet out of storage, because I'm sure it's there. Have John Kine put a couple tons of, the little pebbles, he gets it from someplace free, and he puts it over there, and then lay the carpet down, put the little bricks around it, put the life ring out. They're good to go, and that way people will not be complaining that the ADA launch is not put together. And I know the ADA launch costs money, and this doesn't. So let me give you the pictures, just so, because some people don't know, because it's been a while. We had the water, and then we had COVID, and then things.
So the usual what I recall with that carpet is not down now.
My understanding, it's not. I didn't have time to come, but let me just show you. I've got what it looks like.
Well, I think the complaint was that the kayak launch at Water's Edge isn't installed presently.
Yes, well, this is at Water's Edge.
Yeah.
Right.
There's two
two.
two launches.
And the launch
Here we go.
area that Kathy's talking about is the one that was used 95%
here
of the
then.
time.
And this is
okay.
one of
Yeah,
the reasons.
and
There's a lot of new people.
The reason, I believe the reason they didn't put in that was because it just wasn't used, and it cost money to put in.
And it was not something that there was a lot of support for when it went in, because I remember it was like $138,000. This thing cost, I think, less than $4 in all the years we've worked
Yeah,
with it.
it's
It's great.
It worked very well. I
Yeah.
didn't realize it hadn't been put in.
Yeah,
Kathy?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Can I ask a question?
sure.
I'm happy you're here because I know I saw that discussion too.
Yeah,
It was Tom Malvesta that actually responded saying, I want to be clear, actually, I would like to see something like this up too. But he said he was, or I know you both probably helped maintain that carpet or just keep it clean.
Well, Tom would come down with his, leaf blower. Kim was great to work with. I will tell you that. I don't know the new person very well, but Kim was terrific. She'd just say, "When do you want it down?" Okay. And, we'd come out and before, because we'd kayak on Tuesday nights, and we'd bring a leaf blower. Boom, boom, boom. That was it. And the biggest thing with this, you put and the bricks are there. You put them on the side of the carpeting. But in the water, Tom had these black, heavy pieces of rubber or something. But you need something to weigh them down, is my point. And that's it.
Yeah,
And then-
it's a very simple, very easy and cheap, and it served a lot of people.
It did, and, you know, this is when it's messy, but for the most part, Kim would roll up the carpet, and the carpet would last 3 to 5 years, you know, and she was really good about taking care of it. So I'd look around, and that way you can kind of quiet the noise that I saw on you know, because I got a call about it yesterday, and I'm like, oh, brother. So, again, it's an easy thing, but do have the sign up that they're responsible, because you don't want the township to have any problems, and have the life preserver out there, and you're good to go. I mean, you can have this thing going in 2 days. And if you can't get some new carpeting, and the new carpeting, Tom used to get it at someplace on Eureka, and it was the indoor-outdoor. It's the
Right.
cheapest stuff
Yeah.
you can get.
So you think
And
we shouldn't put up the ADA launch again, or?
I've never been a fan of it, and I'll tell you why. With our thing, you drive up, you stop your car, you put everything on the carpet, and then you park wherever you want. With the ADA launch, you've got limited parking, then you've got to walk across this little thing with all of your gear. And I've got a 16-foot kayak. You know, if I'm wobbling or it's windy, it was in my opinion, it was not a good purchase.
Helpful.
Yeah,
But
it-
again, it was,
Yeah.
It's helpful to know, yeah, thank
it
you.
was not a thing. But if you could have that done, you know,
We will talk to the right people tomorrow.
I figured you would. Thank you.
Yeah. I believe, no,
Good evening, gentlemen. Mark Mills, West River Road. As everybody else up here knows too, I'm also the chairman of the zoning board. As I understand it, you have a matter coming up on the 9th of July. Unfortunately, I will be out of town on business. I just want to urge the board to consider what the planning commission has already gone over twice and what the zoning board has already gone over with regards to Fresh Start on Meridian Road. And I'm going to urge the board to go ahead and vote no, as we did during our board meetings. Again, I'm not going to be able to be here on the 9th, so I'm just trying to put that out there now to you since most of you are here. That's all I have. Thank you.
thanks, Mark. Mickey?
Hold on, Jim, can I ask a question on that? I'm sorry. Just for
Absolutely.
clarification, Mark, did you say it's going back to the ZBA or coming to the board? I thought it was coming to the board.
As I understand, it's coming to the board. Trust.
I apologize. I
The
thought you
plan,
said.
the planning is, not the ZBA.
Yeah.
The planning's,
That's correct. I
yes,
apologize.
yes.
So I just want to make sure right for the people.
But the matter's coming in front of the board for another vote.
Correct. That's correct.
That's why I'm trying to express my opinion on that.
Gotcha. No, I want to make sure everybody was clear on that.
Got you. Yep.
All right, thank you, sir.
Are you clear, you clear on that?
Oh, I'm
good?
clear.
Okay. Now, now we'll try and get you up here.
No,
Go
no
ahead.
worries.
Go ahead.
Michelle Bartlett, Boyd. Hey, just to add to that, so is it locked in on July 9th for that meeting with the township? Last I heard it.
We
were still-
haven't seen our agenda yet.
That's
but
what I thought.
that we have to see our agenda, but we're assuming.
Okay,
If I recall, July, it was definitely July, so it's either the 9th or the next meeting.
It'd be the 8th. The 9th is Tuesday.
Yeah, sorry, the 8th. sorry.
oh, okay. Hey, so I just wanted to mention, and bring up the importance of voting in the primary this year. So there's, 3 slots that are running unopposed. The township supervisor, Joe, the clerk, right? And, wait a minute, which one am I?
Treasurer.
The treasurer, sorry. The other ones, there is 1 Democrat and I believe 5 Republicans running for trustee. Of course, I'm one of them. And so, as far as the trustees and the Republican side, that'll be decided in August, and 1 will be knocked out. So I just wanted to talk about the importance of voting for that. I also wanted to bring up, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 2 millages for the police and the fire department. And from what I understand, they're both renewals, and that they're not any increases. So this isn't getting any fancy new things. It's just ongoing operations under their tight budgets. So again, I just wanted to bring up the importance of voting this year and voting for the millages.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Okay. No, I don't, no one over there. Oh.
Brian, anybody?
Brian? He had no one. With that, we'll go to the, I'm sorry, Greg, didn't see you back there. With the light and your hair,
Greg Kermsen, 21228 East Rear Road. First of all, I just wanted to say, congratulate or commend the board tonight on supporting the police and fire with equipment. I think that's always top priority here for the township board is to protect public safety, and welcome to see those investments. Also, I wanted to mention that on behalf of the Grosse Ile Taxpayers Association, I had sent an email to the township clerk's office inquiring about the enforcement or the status of the township's ordinance on temporary political signs. Obviously, we've seen a lot of signs out in the community, and I know some of the candidates were questioning whether or not they could put signs out now because the ordinance on the books says that it's 3 weeks before an election or a vote. And of course now, because of early voting and absentee voting being such an important part of the voting process, historically that isn't necessarily when people were putting out their signs. They were putting out their signs in July, 3 weeks ahead of the August primary. But now, because of early voting and because of the absentee, I can fully understand why candidates want to get their signs out. So I had asked on behalf of the Taxpayer Association to get some clarity to that. And I was pleased that I received a response from Township Manager Derek Thiel tonight that the township has decided to suspend any enforcement of the sign ordinance in regard to specifically to the time period. So it is now recognized that any candidate for public office on Grosse Ile can put out a political yard sign now, and any individual property owner can do that as well.
Correct.
So I just wanted to say thank you for Manager Thiel for bringing clarity to this issue, and everybody can be on an even playing field now and understand they're complying with the township ordinance appropriately. Thank you.
When are your signs going to go up, Greg?
Yes. I just wanted to say, that is an ordinance that actually needs to be looked at for a lot of reasons, but Derek, you did put out a very good response to that. Thank you. Bill, come on up.
Bill Heil, I live on East River Road. I was listening to remarks Mickey had made, thinking of Kyle's efforts with the commissions and the concerns that are there. And I suddenly was more aware that we have a lot of newness in what the future holds. New people, if not entirely new to the process, new to the positions that they have. There's a lot of talk about, and I endorse some of this, the planning for the future and making it more solid. It might well be that we need more help from our commissions then than has been traditionally the case. And so as we're looking at these procedures and enforcing those procedures and making it work, realizing that these people might have requests made by our people who sit here to provide them with new information that they could research to make better decisions for the future. That would be a wonderful opportunity for them to enhance the quality of the decision process, because the more information you have available, the more you can anticipate and recognize what the future might hold or how you might enforce whatever it is it's on the docket at that moment. And so I think that this is an effort worthwhile and would ask that you take that kind of a thought in mind.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone else? With that, we'll move on to the reports. I'm going to ask Brian, do you have anything from the clerk's office?
Yeah, just a few items. Just a quick election update. Absentee ballots will go out either late this week or early next week. Our first delivery of ballots from the printer was a little short of the total number of current absentee voters that we have. So that second delivery is supposed to be made on Wednesday or Thursday. So we should be able to get ballots out either Thursday, Friday, possibly Monday. But hopefully at the end of this week, all ballots will leave our office. Early voting will begin Saturday, July 27th and continue through Sunday, August 4th. The hours of early voting will be 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. for all 9 days. Thursday, July 18th at 4 p.m. is the deadline for candidates without political party affiliation seeking partisan offices to file petitions and an affidavit for the November general election. Tuesday, July 23rd at 4 p.m. is the deadline for candidates for local school board to file an affidavit and a nonpartisan nominating petition or a $100 non-refundable fee. The school board has 2 positions available this November. And then just a reminder for those who will be receiving absentee ballots, you cannot split your ticket in the August primary. What that means is you can only vote for one party and cannot cross over between the 2 parties, or it will invalidate the partisan section of your ballot. So just a reminder, whichever party you start with, you must stay within that column on your ballot and vote the front and back in the partisan section within that column. That's all I got.
Brian, can I get the date again of the start of the early voting?
Saturday, July 27th.
And you said it was 8 to 4 each day?
Yep.
July 20th, Saturday. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you. For the month of May, Groseal Township, excuse me, had a total of $15,400,000 in various investment vehicles. And these accounts generated interest income of $60,326 at an average daily interest rate of 4.13. As previously mentioned, first week in July, summer tax bills will be mailed out, and they are payable from July 1st through September 14th, payable without penalty. After that date, late penalty charges will apply. And the original the tax bills are mailed to the property owners at the address on record. If you've requested your mortgage company, or they pay your taxes through your mortgage company, they will receive a duplicate copy. And the DPS Commission, their next meeting date is July 9th at 7 o'clock. And Airport Commerce Park Commission, their next meeting will be July 15th, beginning at 6 o'clock. Both of those meetings are held here in the boardroom. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, David. Trustees reports. Carl.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have the privilege of sitting on a commission and a committee. First, it was with respect to Greenways Open Space. We're working on bench placement. There's going to be a concrete pad that will be built underneath the benches to help control the weeds and certainly enhance the enjoyability of the bench after you have been out exploring nature. We have benches proposed for the east terminus of the Meridian Trail that will be directly on East River Road. There is really no place to sit and look at anything along that section of the road from Macomb South to all the way to Hoover's. The second placement will be on the Ferry Gauge Connector. That is the south trailhead on Ferry Road. And the third one will be up in the Wildlife Sanctuary. With respect to the second body that I sit on, the Fire Commission, on behalf of everyone that is a volunteer and everybody in the department, thank you everybody on this board for your support. And to the community as well. It's because the community has voted the millages previously that allows us to set aside and earmark funds for replacement of equipment. I think when you look at the age of some of that equipment, decade and a half old, it is certainly beyond the technology that we all deserve today. It is striking that the AED and the equipment there allows us enhanced technology with Wi-Fi communication, as well as going ahead and having The continuous monitoring, you don't have to shut it down, turn it off while you're doing switching into some compressions in order to get the information transmitted. That's just huge improvements. And again, thanks to the community for its support in the past and the board tonight for its support with that equipment. Third thing I have is last time when I spoke, I talked about the importance of volunteers. We focused on Ethel Yops. We focused on the work that was going on with the fireworks as well as with the festival that was here and all the volunteers that participated in that, as well as the volunteers throughout the township. All of us that were watching the news the last 24 hours, to switch gears to public safety for a moment, will recall that Oakland County Deputy Bradley Reckoning was lost this last 24 hours. Father of 3, soon to be 4, died in the line of duty. And I think it would behoove us all to think about what our police officers on the island do, not just fire. I've had the pleasure of being on the fire commission for about a little over a year, almost a year and a half now. We all know what they do, but when we look at what the police officers do and law enforcement do in this community, sometimes it's easy to be a little bit apathetic because, quote, nothing ever happens on Grosse Ile. That's not accurate. It can happen anywhere. It happened to a deputy in Oakland County working in Wayne County, and we just really, really need to support our public safety people out there. I don't think of them as employees. I think of them as people that deliver some very, very important services. Mark, you've served, I believe, with the community of Westland, if I recall correctly. And I just want to thank you for your service and for all of the people in public safety that service this community. It's important to recognize the work that they do, sometimes the sacrifices that they make, and sometimes, while we've not had it happen, it's only one incident away from one of our people being involved in a terrible shooting with horrific results. So again, when you see an officer in duty, just don't hesitate to go up and thank them. I made the same plea last time for fire. I'll do the same thing for police right now. Think about it. Think about what they do. They're typically the first responders here, and let's think tonight about what a safe, great community we have, in part because of all the work that they do. And again, a moment just to think and reflect on what this loss meant to a terrific human being with an incredible family from everything we've been advised in the news, as well as thinking and looking not only about their loss, but the world was a better place because he was in it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Carl. Jameson.
All right, good evening. The Zoning Board of Appeals did not meet last month, or will not meet this month, I should say. It's still June. Next meeting for the Zoning Board of Appeals, if there is an appeal, will be 23 July. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee did not meet in June, but will be meeting in July on the 18th. I have nothing else to report at this time.
Thank you very much. Joe.
Hi, good evening. I sit on the police commission. We meet Tuesdays, third Tuesday of the month, in this room at 7 p.m. Just a couple of things to go over. First off, I've been asked by a lot of people how the young man that was in the traffic accident, the officer, is doing, and he is still at home. He is off work. He's doing real well, though. He's recuperating at home, and he should be back pretty soon. And as we spoke last month, one of the new recruits just got off the field training program, which will help in our scheduling and our overtime. And I just want to add one more thing that I'm on. I'm on the Citizens Action Group at the McLeod Steel site there. There's a couple people. Kyle is always on. Greg is always on the meetings. And we were talking about the county last week. And we've been petitioning the county to put the signs up where the hazardous water was that unfortunately burned a couple of people. Not bad, but there's still a hazard to it. And they did put the signs up, and the sign, I had to stop my car. My eyes might not be the best in the world, but I had to stop my car, and the sign is, I took a piece of paper, it's a little smaller than this, and it says something about hazardous water. So I don't know if they're saying don't drink it, or what the deal is. But it just is an example of when, there's something that's got to give. The last statement that they put out with the bridge, I mean, I don't know, maybe there was a couple things in there. And what that statement did, unfortunately, is brought up more questions. I don't feel that statement actually gave us answers, but it brought questions to mind because the answers weren't given in that statement. So anyway, my point is I'm going to try to get larger signs down there that actually say what you should be careful of. There's a lot of people this summer that have been biking, and I've noticed them, and I've gone down there on purpose. And once again, as I stated, I couldn't read it as I drove by, and maybe a biker would have the exact same thing. A walker probably could read it, but have no idea what it says. I mean, it doesn't make sense sometimes. So anyway, I'm still working on that, and I want to thank Kyle and Greg because they actually were in its inception when they found this chemical, one would say, I guess, in the water there, or knew there was an issue, and that's when the EPA got involved. But anyway, it was just an example of yes, we do have to deal with the county in a certain way, and we still would like to see a public hearing for the bridge. There's some more things coming. I think it's so important. I spoke with people from the school board and the acting superintendent. We have an acting superintendent of the schools. I'm not sure if you knew this, but Miss Orr is out on a medical issue and has a individual in their place. And they still have a lot of questions. And once again, they have nothing to say to us. We have a lot to say to them. That's the difference here. And please, I get it. I've been a public servant all my life, but they do work for us. And I hate that saying sometimes, but just like we, the board right here, work for the people of Grosse-Ile. I mean, I've dealt with that all my life in every job I've had, and I accept that position, and I've taken it seriously, and I do it as if I work for the people of Grosse-Ile. I don't care if I was a police chief, I was a fireman, I work for the people of Grosse-Ile. The Township Board, I work for them. But there's a disconnect down in Wayne County, and I really like to make things better, and I'm trying to figure out how. And Derek and I have worked on some things together from his office. So I guess I don't want to ramble on this point, and I'm sorry for that. But the whole idea is that I think that Grosse-Ile deserves it a little better. That's all. I think they deserve a little bit better from what we're getting, and I hope that can occur. That's all. So that's it, Jim, for tonight.
Thank you, Joe. Kyle.
Yes, thank you. I sit on the Planning Commission, which meets on an as-needed basis. Our next scheduled meeting is July 17th. It'll be a master plan land use workshop. The master plan process continues, and I encourage folks to follow along, get involved however you can. It's our first update in this manner in 20 years, and a real opportunity to say what you'd like your community to look like in the future. A couple other things. I heard a lot of very good talk about law enforcement tonight, and I know Joe mentioned it. But yeah, we have a young officer here on our in our police force that was hurt in the line of duty, and no, he's okay. But just it's a good reminder of how the folks that serve us, the risk that they put themselves out there for every day. I mean, the risk that the biggest risk often is along traffic stops and folks not looking out for folks. So I won't say more. I know the police department tries to be humble about these things and not make a big deal out of them, but I just know it affected me hearing that young officer was hurt, and I know it affected others too. But I'm glad he's okay and doing okay, and I just encourage folks to look out and to be better, because I don't want young officers being hurt in our community like that. To get to some of what Joe said, yeah, those signs were put up. It was a big fight to get those signs up. I was surprised at how small they were when they were put up. Honestly, for me, it is what it is there. I'm glad that they're finally finally, have a plan there to try and clean, not clean that up, but at least they have responsibility assigned. I think they're still pumping water out of there, so I haven't seen the leak there since they've started doing that, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done there to undo that leak, and yeah, that leads to the bridge issue again. I know probably Jim and Derek might speak about this, but an update was finally sent out last week, as I think a lot of folks saw. It wasn't enough, just to be very clear. We had been asking for a public hearing. They do have a commitment to a public hearing in there. They don't have a timeline for when. I had hoped that it'd be done sooner rather than later. It's looking like it's going to be later at this point. But yeah, it's not enough. And the communication is the biggest issue. I think that document shows very clearly why there's an issue here. They're all focused on the immediate repair that needs to be done on the bridge, and that's important. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of long-term things that we need to know for that bridge, and that we need to be talking about. And I'm even concerned the way that document was sent out, that they're going to focus that public hearing on that, when I think we need to just have a larger conversation. So I still have some ideas on how to maybe at least get something sooner rather than later. But yeah, it's been difficult. I will say I'm surprised at how difficult it has been, even just to get something as simple as a public hearing. I thought that would be a simpler ask than some of the other things that we've been asking for. But yeah, that's where we are. I will leave it there tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle. Derek, if you will.
Good evening. Just a few items really quickly this evening. To piggyback on what Trustee DeBousset had mentioned earlier with regards to the master plan, where you can make your voice known currently is by going to the Township's website, and what we're asking for is for people to participate in survey number 2. I think they have a number of responses from the first survey, but the second survey focuses on some more specific information like housing, community wants as far as recreation. So if you have the opportunity to take a few minutes, go onto the Township's website under the community development link and go to the master plan update for survey number 2 is what they're looking for responses on.
Remind me what the deadline is for that, Derek? I forget.
I think it's end of June, beginning of July.
Okay,
So I think you have the balance of this month.
At the latest, early July.
Yep. So, and then I know they're planning on doing some roundtable public hearings and public meetings in July and August. But I think that they're aiming for November or so to try to have a draft together. So time is running out to make your voice heard. So make sure you take advantage of every opportunity that exists to make comment on the master plan. Just a quick comment about mailer that some residents may be receiving. It has a tendency to look like a water bill. A lot of times you'll see these mailers come in with like a quasi-township seal to look like it's official from the township. These are insurance solicitations for water and sewer lines. This isn't something that the township is, it's not us doing this, it is a private company. So I just encourage you to research any kind of insurance programs for water and sewer protection systems or protection insurance before you make a decision to go ahead and purchase that. But in case you do receive something like this in the mail, just be aware it is not the township that's sending this out. It's a private company asking you to buy their insurance. So if you have any questions, you feel free to call us and we can tell you whether any mailing that you get that might look official from the township is legitimate or not. And then last but not least, I know there were some questions, I think at the last meeting about Ferry Road. They were supposed to have started removing barricades today and doing shoulder work today. So I didn't get an opportunity to get out of the office and see whether that was ongoing, but that should have started today, and that was the plan. And then I know Meridian Road did get painted before the end of the month, as the county had mentioned. So with that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Derek. As most of you know, the DTE demo went off last Friday. If you weren't there, you might have heard it, or from some of the people said they felt it. But that went off, and it's paving the way for something new, and we'll see how that goes. I did want to quickly speak about our project on the toll bridge. Our engineering completed their inspections, both above water and underwater, and so now what we'll be waiting for is the reports from both our financial and our engineers, and we'll move accordingly. Along those lines, part of our due diligence dealt with the state legislature. We both had 2 bills introduced, one by our senator, one by our House representative, regarding the ability of us to own and operate a toll bridge. I am happy to say that both pieces of legislation passed, and they're now, the House bill is with the Senate reconciliation. So we're moving along there. That's not an indication as to what direction we're going, because until we get those reports and get all of our due diligence done, we're not making a decision. But if we were, we would need this to move forward. So we have it in our toolbox to go that way. So we're moving along, and we hope to be making a decision by the end of summer. I'm looking for the end of summer to decide on this bridge. I'm very hopeful that our reports come in quickly. And that's all I have. With that,
Let's make a motion to adjourn.
all,
Second.
thank you for the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Thank you all for coming tonight, and for all of you watching on TV.